Hi Year 2, it's Miss Addy. Our learning question for maths for today asks us, can I organise information into a block diagram? So we are continuing our learning on block diagrams. Our steps to success say, I can read information and display it as a block diagram. I can use my block diagram to compare information, and I can answer questions using my block diagram. Our first star word is block diagram, which we learnt about in yesterday's lesson and we're going to explore more today. We also have the star word data, and this is information that we can gather or collect to help us. We've got the star word represent because we can represent our data in different ways. We've got the word compare because when we represent our data using a pictogram or using a block diagram, we can easily compare the data and look at what item had the most and what item had the least. Yesterday we found out what a block diagram is. Can you think back to yesterday's lesson? What is a block diagram? A block diagram is a chart that is made up of squares. There are numbers on the left-hand side and the names of items along the bottom. They are used to represent data. Data is a collection of information gathered. This is one of our star words for today. We've been thinking about collecting data all week, and this just tells us that we're collecting information. We can represent our data using tally charts, and we can represent our data using pictograms. We can also represent our data using block diagrams. You might remember this block diagram from yesterday. A block diagram is used to clearly display results and information. Types of items are shown on the x-axis, which is horizontal, which means that direction over there. This is the x-axis, and this has our items there. We can see the words dog, cat, snake, bear, horse, and goose. These are the items on the x-axis. A block diagram will also show us the number of items on the y-axis. This goes vertically, which means this direction going up. And on a block diagram, we draw blocks. So we draw squares, and each block represents one. And block diagrams are then used to compare results quickly. They're a lot quicker than using tally charts. Here you can see a tally chart that somebody has made to show vehicles on the road. They counted and they collected their information and they represented it using tally marks. Then that person was able to make a block diagram to represent this information. The items or objects go horizontally along the bottom. So over here, these are the items: car, bike, lorry, bus, and motorbike. The number of items go vertically on the left-hand side. And these are numbers 1 to 5, and they're going up vertically. As you can see, the squares, or the blocks, they're going up vertically, and they're going up one by one. And each square represents 1, and each square is the same size to make sure that it's consistent and fair. So today we're going to create a block diagram using this picture of undersea creatures and objects. But before we can make our block diagram, we need to count the number of undersea objects and creatures. And I thought it would be fun to represent it in a tally chart, so you can help with me create a tally chart. Let's start with the first item, which is mermaids. So we're going to count the mermaids together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 mermaids. We need to represent this as a tally. Can you remember how it would look? Well done, 4 tally marks. And my total is 4. The next item is dolphins, so let's count the dolphins. 1, 2, 3. Only 3 dolphins. How might this look on my tally? Good, 3 tally marks, and my total is 3. The next item that we need to count is the anchors. Let's count those. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 anchors. That will look very similar to the number of mermaids. So we have 4 tally marks, and our total is 4. The next item on our tally is starfish, so let's count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 starfish. How would we write that on our tally? This one's a little trickier because it's gone past the number 5. Well done if you got that right. So we have to do our 5 first. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then a diagonal line for 5, and then we do another tally, just 1, and that represents 6. The next item is coral, so let's count the coral. 1, 2, 3. Only 3. So we draw 3 tally marks, and our total is 3. Now we need to count the seashells. 1, 2, 3. Again 3. The last item is the number of turtles. 1, 2, 3. 3 again. So here is our completed tally chart. And what we're going to do now is use this tally chart information, the data, we're going to represent it using a block diagram. But first, what is missing from my block diagram? Yes, the items on the bottom, the items on the x-axis are missing. Should we put those in? Good. What else is missing? Good, the numbers on the y-axis are missing. Fabulous. So now we have a blank block diagram. We need to put the data in. What is our first data that we're going to put into the block diagram? The number of mermaids. How many mermaids did we see? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, I've drawn 4 squares and I've coloured them in red, so it's going to be easy to compare it at the end. All of my squares are the same size. Let's have a go at the next item. The next item is dolphins. How many dolphins did we see? 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 squares to represent the 3 dolphins. The next item is anchor. How many anchors did we see? We saw 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. The next item on our tally chart is starfish. How many starfish did we see? We saw 6 starfish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 squares to represent the 6 starfish. The next item is coral. How many coral did we see? We saw 3. 1, 2, 3. What about seashells? We also saw 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. And the last item is turtles. How many turtles did we see? 3 again. 1, 2, 3. There we have it. We've completed our block diagram using our tally chart. Now we can use our block diagram to help us interpret data. Can you say that? Interpret data. That sounds so tricky. What does interpreting data mean? This means when we use the data, so the information, to help us answer questions. So let's have a go now at using our block diagram to help us interpret the data. Which creature or object did I see the most? What you need to do is look at the block diagram and see which item had the largest amount of squares. Good, it was the starfish, because the starfish there were 6 of, and that is a larger number than any other item. Which creature or object did I see the least? This is a tricky one. So again, you need to look at the block diagram and look at the number of items, and which didn't I see much of? Which was the smallest amount? So the dolphin, we only saw 3 of those. But also the coral, and the same with the seashells, and the same with the turtles. So those were the items that we saw the least. How many mermaids and turtles did I see in total? What is this question asking us to do? Good, it's asking us to add because the words in total mean that we're combining amounts, so we are adding. So mermaids and turtles. We saw 4 mermaids and we saw 3 turtles. So 4 plus 3 equals 7. We saw 7 mermaids and turtles in total. What is the difference between the number of starfish and number of seashells? What do you think this question's asking us to do? This question's asking us to subtract. Difference means we need to take away. So there were 6 starfish and 3 seashells. How might our number sentence look? 6 take away 3 equals 3. So the difference between the number of starfish and the number of seashells is 3. Here is your task for today, Year 2. On Monday's lesson about tally charts, you might have then gone outside with your grown-up or looked outside your window and counted the number of vehicles that went past your house. And then some of you may have created a tally chart to show that. If you didn't do that, that's okay. You can do it today. And what you're doing with that information is you're creating a block diagram to show your data. That means you need to carefully draw the squares using a ruler to represent the number of cars, the number of buses, the number of vans, the number of bikes, and the number of motorcycles on your own block diagram. And then afterwards, you'll be able to compare the data and maybe even interpret the data. Enjoy your task for today, Year 2. Goodbye.